follows. We're going to be, of course, reviewing what Excelsius is quickly, just reviewing the whole basis of it, why we built it in the way that we did, and then, of course, going through some market environments, market examples, especially today, taking a look at the Discord, taking a look at the whole 9 yards. If you happen to be a part of Excelsius and you have any questions pertaining to Excelsius itself or in general, anything that I am reviewing, without a doubt, don't hesitate to ask questions. You can ask through the chat box. And at the same time, if you want to unmute your mic, I am 100% when it comes down to that. And so with that, legends, let's jump straight into it. Excelsius. I'm super excited to be coming out, today in a new year, Monday, and speaking about Excelsius. Excelsius has been a project that if you legends have or have not been aware of, has been something that we've been working on now for a bit of time, and we are finally here. We launched last month in December. The response has been absolutely wild, as expected, to be quite honest, solely for the fact that I've seen exactly what it's done for my personal trading, as well as the legends that work very closely with me. And I cannot express enough how revolutionary it is that we have something like Excelsius here. For those that do not know, Excelsius is a state-of-the-art trading algorithm designed to genuinely give you an unfair advantage. For those that are not aware, being retail traders, you are at an automatic disadvantage unless you are at the institutions, solely due to the fact that they have a vast amount of resources and tools available that we as retail traders do not, unfortunately. And so that in and of itself becomes a really big issue, and at the same time makes the game extremely unfair when it does come down to Excelsius. And so come down to just trading in the capital markets. And so Excelsius really does give us that advantage that we're seeking. And so Excelsius in and of itself is designed to provide you with everything and anything that a trader, investor, market participant would require. Excelsius comes with a full line of tools, from buy and sell signals, telling you, the most volatile parts of the market, to identifying the most sensitive points of the market, completely adapting and adjusting to your style of trading. It'll indicate exactly where the heaviest amounts of institutional volume sit. It'll tell you exactly when potential opportunities are taking place from a market structure standpoint, all the way to buy and sell signals. It's genuinely designed to be your second pair of eyes, and at the same time is really there to take your trading to a whole nother level. Now, before, of course, getting into the basis of Excelsius, the guts that you see inside of here, just want to go through some data with regards to Excelsius. Excelsius is backed by 18 and a half years of the highest quality data that we could source out. It genuinely is verified and is 100% with regards to what you see. But at the same time, you can let the Discord server be the biggest tell all. When it comes down to Excelsius, there is no hiding behind the results here. The results are exactly as we demonstrate them on the site. 96% accuracy rate, 6.45 profit factor, 221 maximal consecutive trades, and that's only on an average pair. And so when you really look at that across the board, it gets extremely wild in context to opportunities, and at the same time, really taking your trading to a whole new level. That really comes down into this big part that I want to talk about, which is the basis of why we developed it, why we built it in the way that we did. Like I said before, if you're a retail trader, you're at an automatic disadvantage when it comes to trading in the capital markets, unless you're at an institution. They have a tremendous amount of more resources and tools available to them. It is not fair to individuals such as ourselves. This is precisely why we ventured out into Excelsius and to create Excelsius in the way that we did. And so, as I said before, we designed Excelsius to give you that unfair advantage that you seek, to turn the tables and really upgrade, your ability to trade when competing against the institutions. Now, when it comes down to Excelsius, we designed Excelsius as a balancing act. Excelsius provides you with an unparalleled amount of tools, analysis, and data. But Excelsius is not meant to be the sole driver of your trading, and that is not something that we intend to make at this current time. We want Excelsius to be a major confluence to your overall trading, being able to do exactly what you need it to do for the time that you need it, whether it's being on autopilot and just simply being there to tell you when market opportunities are available, or for it to identify the most key and sensitive points of the market as you're continuing to trade through. It's really designed to do everything and anything based on the individual's needs. Now, The most important thing to be mindful here is that Excelsius really just simplifies the already complex process that we as traders have to go through. And that comes down to analyzation, that comes down to really identifying, the best trades to take and just in general be aware for the week. We really wanted to make this the perfect plug and play when it comes down to your trading. And so when you take a look at it all, Excelsius really is a full-blown system that is designed to just take your trading to a whole new level. And I'm super excited to get inside the guts of it all, what we can really do with the different features here. And then, of course, showing you legends some really cool examples that Excelsius has been firing away at today. As you guys saw in the Discord channel, Excelsius has been on fire, not just in the crypto side, in the FX side, commodities, precious metals, and then the indexes. I didn't post any of the indexes today just because they were still signaling, but you can see that we're just pinning off over here. And so nothing but straight business. It's absolutely wild. I can't express enough how revolutionary this is, more so how revolutionary it has been for my trading. And just to touch on that real quick, it's really solely for the fact that it gives you confidence to do things and move in the market that you wouldn't necessarily do just because you're not having that added analysis, tools, and data available to you. The fact that Excelsius completely adapts to every single time frame and the way we developed it, it's absolutely insane. It's absolutely insane. And so that is a huge reason on why, once again, it's taking your trading to a whole new level because of this additional confidence that it's giving you, right? You really want to look at Excelsius in the same way to the Tony Stark to the Iron Man suit, right? We are all Tony Stark. We just have an upgrade with our Iron Man suit now. Now we can really go do some incredible damage. And so enough about me hyping up Excelsius. Let's talk about the actual guts inside, what we put in here and the reasons why we designed it in here. And so jumping straight into it, let's just talk about how you get access to Excelsius in and of itself. For those that are signed up or for those that are not signed up, once you do, get set up with Excelsius, you'll be automatically added into our management system. And from there, you will have automatic access into Excelsius. The way that it'll work is as follows. You go to your indicators tab here at the top. You'll drop, it'll first, of course, be at the favorites, but you'll drop down to the invite only scripts. Once you get there, you simply just click Excelsius, and from there, Excelsius is going to load as it should. And so once you do have Excelsius loaded up and you have Excelsius, ready to go, it really comes down now to the whole customization aspect. And that's really the most important thing that we want to focus on. An algorithm, a trading system, a, truly revolutionary tool that adapts to everything that you need it to do. It's not confined to just be one simple thing. It's not designed to just be a buy and sell signal type of environment. It's genuinely here to do anything and everything that you need it to do. When it comes down to customizing and taking a look at the insides of Excelsius and the guts pertaining to it, once you have it loaded up, you go to the gear icon here at the top left and you click settings. And from there, you can really now take a look at all of the different adjustments that you can do pertaining to Excelsius. Now, we give a full resource guide when you do join with Excelsius. And on top of that, we have a bunch of videos for best practice. In addition, you also do have here with these eye icons, you do have little indications in context to each tool and just overall tips and tricks that we give when it does come down to Excelsius and best ways that you can acclimate it to your trading. The biggest questions that we do get a lot of times are which settings should I select? How should I really structure out Excelsius? And this comes back down to what I just said a little bit earlier, which is we designed Excelsius to be a balancing act, right? It's not meant to be the sole driver of your trading, but at the same time, it's meant to act as a massive confluence to your overall trading and really just give you that edge that we all need. And so with that, we can't stress enough how much we encourage you to go ahead and make sure that when you plug and play with Excelsius, you don't just jump straight into it, even though it might seem like you can just move. And then, with a high probability, I'm sure it would work out in that way. But to really get the most effectiveness out of it, go and back test this. Really take a look at how this can acclimate to your trading. And that's where really the adjustments of the different settings come in. For you legends, right? You all know that personally, for me, I am the biggest fan of market structure. It was a fundamental piece that we wanted to make sure that we got involved in here. And so, of course, those three settings that you see there are typically the main three settings that I have on top of the signals in the alerts. That is just beyond a massive help just being a second pair of eyes and ears. And for those that are not aware, we just launched Pink Sand. And so I got a zillion things going on. The ability to simply right click and set autopilot on. Excelsius tell me not just buy and sell signals, but hey, higher highs are being created, lower lows are being created, or I can set a sequence of them, right? I can't express in words what that does for me and for everybody else, right? The goal is to make the markets work for you, not go and work for the markets. Excelsius embodies that. And so when we take a look at the insides here, you'll see that we have what we think, and I believe is the most beautiful layout that you will ever see. It is super clean. It is super smooth, and it's designed precisely like that. Even though Excelsius is a wide variety of tools, we don't want to make it feel intense. We don't want to make it feel, complex. We want to make sure that it completely, moves according to your trading. Let's start off with the signals here. The signals are verbatim, right? Buy and sell signals, as simple as they come. However, they're hard trending signals. They're not going to bend. They're not going to twist just because market makes some short-term corrections. Excelsius really does move off of what the daily's direction is and really make sure that it's in line with overall momentum. Once again, tips and tricks here with regards to the signals and different ways that you can go about utilizing the signals. The cool thing about the way that we develop the signals is that there's two fundamental ways that you can make it move based on your trading style. You can, of course, first adjust the take profit setting here, which totally dictates how many trades, for example, will Excelsius fire away. And as you adjust it, right, you'll say to the right here, you'll see more trades will populate. If we go higher, you will see then less trades will populate. That was the biggest thing that we first wanted to make sure was implemented. But the second thing at the same time, and I apologize about the delay in it, the internet is not the best where I'm currently at. The higher speed internet you have and the quicker Excelsius, of course, is going to respond. It's like any internet connection out there. But nonetheless, we want to make sure that first you can completely adjust the amount of signals that are fired, all based on your overall trading style. You might be an individual that likes longer term trading, shorter term trading, investing at the same time. And so with that, we want to make sure that that's also acclimated to you, but at the same time, the ability when you do adjust in time frame, right? So for example, even though you'll see at this current time, right, you might be someone that wants more frequent trades, but you still like to have them on the higher time frames. Aside from us making it that you can change how many signals are taken, you can also dictate how many signals are taken based on the time frame in which you're moving on, right? So just because you're going up in a higher time frame doesn't necessarily mean that Excelsius is going to send less signals unless you want Excelsius to send less signals, and vice versa. Just because you're dropping down to the smaller time frame doesn't necessarily mean that Excelsius is going to start firing away at a lot more signals unless you want Excelsius to be firing away at a lot more signals. We designed it precisely in that atmosphere so that it completely adapts and bends to your needs, right? And so that's the super cool thing about Excelsius. Just because you adjust time frames and you're moving in a certain way, ultimately, it adjusts all based on, what is going on. And yes, we do get stopped out. We do take losses, but it's just very rare, but you will see the stops in there. So the signals in and of itself are pretty verbatim, right? You can completely maneuver and dictate how you want with the signals. But of course, aside from it being truthfully a kick-ass money printer, as, the legend who helped develop this, Job, he is the architect in this entire aspect, and you guys will be seeing a lot more of him. We want to make sure that Excelsius was not just, a solely automated environment here that's just sending buy and sell signals, but to really adapt as this, next level tool that can help your trading, move into heights never thought before. So let's take off the signals for a second here, right? Let's take a look at the other lines of tools that we have. We'll start with the rejection zones. And this is something that I personally think is absolutely amazing in context, just to the way they work from a dynamic standpoint. As they're described, very simply put, they are rejection zones. They indicate when market could expect to reject, twist, turn, slow down, decelerate. And the really cool thing, completely adaptable to every single time frame, all based on the style of trading. Take a look at this here real quick. And there's nothing for me. This is current market candle here. It's nothing I can do. You can see here, market's kind of sitting in the middle between the lower part of the rejection zone and nowhere near the upper part. But as I adjust in a lower time frame, you'll start to see that price will now start to maneuver differently based on the time from the rejection zone. So we're in a little bit closer now to that bluer area. I bet you if I drop down to the 15-minute, we're actually pinning straight off of it. And that could probably give a good indication of you see how quickly price is reversing off of these regions, right? And so just because the 4-hour time frame there, right, happened to be nowhere near, that lower zone is not necessarily indicative that the small smaller timeframes are not necessarily pushing into those regions. Once again, going back down to the adaptability of Excelsius and just ultimately how well it can work based on your style of trading. And so rejection zones verbatim, right, are precisely as I'm showing you. They're here to give you indications of where you can expect price to slow down, where you can expect price to really, start to decelerate, and at the same time, really start to assess tops and bottoms of market structure for that given time period. Now, the most important thing to be mindful of is that when you're looking at Excelsius here, you have to really make sure that you're mindful that the lower the time frame you go in, and that will totally dictate on the type of probability in context to the structure. And at the same time, the higher time frame that you go through, and the more probability, the more certainty that these tools, these areas, these rejection zones, they will ultimately help out. And so that's really the most important thing that you want to be mindful of, right? Is also making sure that you're taking things with a grain of salt in context to, hey, if I'm moving into the 1 minute time frame and we're pushing into a rejection zone, I should not be expecting a 400 pip movement, right? But at the same time, if you are pushing into a daily rejection zone, maybe you could expect some type of hard reversal, and you can start to build some type of game plan into the smaller time frame. And that's just me just speaking to you on a general basis, but at the same time, giving you a game plan in context to how you can utilize Excelsius, based on certain time frames with just the rejection zone, right? So super cool feature on that side. Now, the next, and probably what will be my personal favorite tool that we have at this current time, and I can't even express how excited I am to continue to build this exact tool, is the market structure and the market structure candles. So for all of you legends that know, this is something that's so important to me, mainly for the fact that I'm a big believer that market in and of itself is built off of market structure and the way that we look at it. And so this was so important to make sure that we do include when it comes down to Excelsius. Not only, like I said, did we want Excelsius to be, a state-of-the-art money printer, but we also wanted Excelsius to be able to identify the most key and sensitive points of the market, really showing you exactly where you can expect potential short-term shifts and continuations. Now, be mindful, once again, the smaller time frame you go through, and at the same time, the smaller expected move that could take place. And the higher the time frame that you're moving into, and the bigger term structure you're breaking, and the larger term of movement that you could expect. And that's really the biggest thing that you want to be mindful of, is that Excelsius is completely adaptable based on what you need it for, and more importantly, when you need it for. But very simply put, Excelsius simply just identifies the most key and sensitive points of the market, and at the same time will attempt to indicate where you can expect potential further developed points, right? So you will also see Excelsius showcase, right, when potential lower highs are going to form, when potential higher lows are going to form. And that in and of itself is just an absolute, in my opinion, an incredible part, solely for the fact that now it's just giving you potential indications of, hey, you know what? Maybe at some point it's going to indicate a new lower high is going to take place. If we can start to successfully break down the structure here, who's to say that we can drop? And if you want to see that actually identified, I bet you if you go down to the smaller time frames here, the 1 minute, of course, it's going to start labeling some type of structure, but of course, the higher the time frame and the more concrete these points are, right? And so in and of itself, this is the super cool feature pertaining to Excelsius because of the level of adaptability that it has. And what you're noticing straight off the bat is the higher the time frame I'm moving, and the less but more key points are being identified, and the smaller the time frames that we move, and the more key points that are being identified. But that's not to necessarily indicate that those key points are just as sensitive as, say, a 4-hour or daily time frame. So this in and of itself is also another key thing that we want to be mindful of when looking at Excelsius. Also be mindful, right? Time frame, pressure, volume, it all plays a role at the same time in context to what can be done with Excelsius and market structure. Now, on top of just identifying the most key and sensitive points of the market, we also want to take things up one step further. And so on top of just identifying those key points, we also made it a point where Excelsius can completely become that market structure that is attempting to be developed. And so in this case here, without even clicking on it, you can see at this current moment, we got a bullish trend that developed here. And the moment that these key points started to break down, this went from being one solid color of blue, indicating a buyer's market, to completely turning into a bearish, or as we set it up, Excelsius colors, as pink, right? And so you take a look the moment we set these market structure candles up, and you'll actually see precisely, as I'm talking about, you'll see exactly as I said, right? The moment that we broke through structure, you can completely see the change within structure, and just look how stunning that is, and look at the result that you receive. And so it's not just about, once again, taking verbatim the buy and sell signals, even though there are money. It's about looking at the other tools and really building with Excelsius in and of itself, right? It's not just saying, hey, this is a straight money printer, but it's saying, hey, how can this really now take my level of trading to a whole new level? And that really results in giving me more confidence in context to what I'm already doing and what I already know. This was a big epiphany that I personally had, and just was something that I would stress to Yob all the time, which was, we as traders cannot unfortunately perform at 100%, mainly for the fact that we have a lot of human limitations. And so by having this hybrid system of the human slash, automated system, you really are giving yourself that highest probability to really achieve the maximum that, you as an individual want to achieve as a trader, right? Because just because you might know of all these different ways that you can get involved in the market and maneuver in the market, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually do those things on a regular basis, because of the limitations that we as humans have. We have to sleep, we have social lives, we have lives in general. And so, even though the markets might be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that's not necessarily indicative that, we can necessarily trade those all the time. And that in and of itself is actually a loss in P&L. And so by having, that automated, hybrid type of system, you really can start to really move towards that way. And so aside from the market structure, being able to identify the most key and sensitive points, right, candles really do turn into them in itself. And as we showed time and time again, the time frames that you go, and you'll continue to see how adaptable Excelsius is. And just notice once again how smooth it is when it's successfully breaking through some key points. We break this low, and look how well price really respected and continued to move. And so you'll notice here, right, market is bearish and will continue to remain pink or bearish until we successfully break that point in structure. And then you'll start to see the change. Once again, just because we break a point, you do see a successful move, but it's not to indicate that you're going to see this rapid, crazy move, solely for the fact that, it's all based on what you're breaking in context of market structure and the time frame in which you're working on. Can't express enough, this is genuinely a balancing act. I can't stress enough. It's a balancing act, and you have to be mindful of that, okay? And so that's why we designed it in the way that we did. We want it to be the perfect plug and play, to just be like, boom, let's go. Let's take the trading to a whole nother level. And so market structure legends, I can't express enough. Absolutely insane. It really does take your trading to a whole new level. Now, dropping back into the settings here, another cool super tip that we have here is the institutional volume. It's really what it does in essence, and exactly as it's shown. It identifies the most key and sensitive points in the market in context of volume. Very simply put, for those that are not that are familiar with volume profiles, it works very simply. The longer that areas are, and the more orders that you can expect, successfully break them, and you can expect continued movements of that direction. However, fail to break them, and you can expect what you see right here, which is consolidation, exhaustion, and it also makes sense, especially in the region that you're in. And so you really want to utilize them as just an area, once again, just like the rejection zones, but just a region that you can really use to say, hey, I can expect volume to start entering into these regions. Volume indicates a potential slowdown, a shift, a change within momentum, and that in and of itself is something super important. But you can also use it in the other way as well, right? You can definitely see here, without even me putting on the market structure settings here, this is definitely a key point within structure here. If price can successfully get above, that could definitely allow for a free-flowing move. You take a look at the volume profile to the left, right? Let me do one candle higher, but still you're getting through this whole region of volume over here, and you're really now not going to start pushing, kind of into these next areas. And that also makes sense because that comes in line with this low as well, right? And so in the end of the day, it's all symmetrical in context to how markets work. Just once again, another game plan that you could utilize. Throw on Excelsius market structure right there. It's also going to give you just that additional tip of, hey, you could be looking for this point to successfully break, exactly as we were talking about, for potential shifts into now this previous point in structure that did just break. And so you mix and match, you completely design Excelsius all based on what you need it for. This is the key in the end of the day, right? It's a completely adaptable system for the trader, designed by the trader. So important here, right? And so Institutional volume in and of itself, just like every other tool, completely adapts to the time frame in which you're in. 4 hour, you'll see here, it's kind of giving indications of what's going on in that time frame. We drop down to the 15-minute, and you very much see the same thing, right? You'll see here exactly just in more of a shorter term view. It's simply saying, hey, you can expect price maybe if it's going to continue to pull up, start really pushing to some of these regions, right? Which also makes sense because if you look at the structure, that was a significant low that did get broken. That also comes in context with this previous point in structure. And so that in and of itself also gives a good indication of, hey, you can expect some type of slowdown. Once again, makes a lot of sense. You want to get really dynamic with it. Who's to say you can draw this? You know, algorithms are looking to play off of trend lines as well. You successfully break. It's like a tripwire. Price comes in, starts to reject. Also comes down to this huge potential amount of volume, and then you can find a new point of structure within Excelsius, and then look for continuations. Right. Giving you just a bunch of different game plans here. In the end of the day, you can completely mix and match Excelsius all based on what you need it for. And I'm not even pressing once again on the signals, even though the signals are straight business. You know what I mean? And so I can't express enough. Like, it is genuinely revolutionary for what you need it to do. Now, jumping back into the tools here, and I'm just going to switch the current theme right now because we are having an update come out this recently, is with regards to the Fibs. And so the Fibs, of course, are very verbatim as well. The Fibs ultimately identify the most key and sensitive points from a Fib standpoint, and they completely adapt based on the time frame in which you're working on. They work from swing low to swing high in that way. The higher the time frame you go, and the different area ultimately that it's going to represent. And so this in and of itself is a super, super cool tool for those that really do like working with Fibs and want to just ultimately see different points where you can expect some type of rejections or ultimate decelerations and exhaustions. If you notice ultimately, and I can't stress this enough, we're really looking to build Excelsius in the exact way that a trader would go about trading, their type of approach, right? They're not only putting on their types of trades to start, but then it's saying, what type of tools do you need based on what you're trying to achieve, right? Rejection zones indicate you areas of where you can expect slowdowns within market structure, giving you indications of potential areas that you can expect slowdown, potential areas of targets, areas where you can base your stops off of. And at the same time, just areas where you can potentially look for more opportunities. Rejection zones, you can utilize the same thing. Institutional volumes giving you those indications of deceleration and exhaustion, but also to build potential opportunities in it too, right? Fibs really go hand in hand with the other aspects if that is something that you like to build off of. Hey, you might be a trader that likes to look for rejections off of a certain Fib level. And then from there, you want to build with certain tools that Excelsius has. You can do that too. I can't stress enough. The possibilities are genuinely endless. And we designed it exactly for this reason. I can't put into words without even going into the alert system yet. And we're not done. We still got to go through the dashboard, the color theme, which is a vibe in and of itself. But I mean, you can just see here. There's no hesitation. There's no nothing because I can't express what it has done for my own trading. I can't express that enough. And the moment that legends get plugged in on this, immediately you get that response that I got when I plug this into my trading. It's like, whoa, right? Everyone's saying it feels like cheating. Yeah, it does. But you know what? The institutions, they have so much tools and resources available to them. It's time that we get the same. Very simple. Very simple. It's sick. I can't express that enough. It is absolutely wild. All right, let's continue. Yes, you can reverse the Fibs if you want, just to have, the Fibs completely change, but ultimately they're still measuring the same swing points in that context for those that have questions. Now, one thing before we continue, and we're really going to build here in the dashboard side of things, what you see here is only the start. I'll repeat that one more time. What you see here is only the start. Excelsius is truly ever growing. And that's why when just selecting the dashboard, I wanted to really make that further iteration because the dashboard is going to become something massive for the next set of variations pertaining to Excelsius, just as the other variables are like the mark structure, rejection zones, because of what we have planned for you legends. I can't express enough how exciting it is. And so just know that you might think this is the most revolutionary thing that you've ever come across, and it's only going to continue to get better with time. That's why it's so important so important that you really make sure that when you do get Excelsius, you back test and you really understand what tools benefit you the most. You might be that individual that uses all of them. You might be that individual that uses certain ones of them for certain time periods. The most important thing is that you can completely turn it on for whenever and whatever you need it to be. That's the basis of this all. The dashboard, an absolute sick tool that is going to continue to evolve with time that I can't express enough, will be a fundamental piece to, the next levels of Excelsius. What we did here to start, of course, just like with everything else, Excelsius is a completely adaptable, system for you. Same thing here. You can completely move the dashboard wherever you want. Let's really make this large here for just a second. It gives you, just for the moment, right, really good insights and context to what the potential volume is of the market, what the session is of the market, which once again gives indication of the ultimate volume. And then lastly, what the potential sentiment is of the market. Very much similar, right? The smaller time frame you go, and the dashboard will adjust accordingly. The higher the time frame you go, the dashboard will adjust accordingly, right? For the short term, the sentiment's bullish, still medium volatility, Sydney, Tokyo session, right? When we are in the daily over here, we can definitely see here medium volatility, but markets indicating bearish, as it should, right? Markets moving down, 15-minute short-term correction, we are moving up, right? And so that in and of itself, really giving you some key tips there. Ultimately, just something really good just to have as reminders, and ultimately just to be aware in context to what's going on in the environment. Before we jump into the alert side of things, which is a whole nother beast on its own, we want to also give you legends, a little bit of spice pertaining to Excelsius and just different things that you could do. Something that we are really, really adamant about, which is the vibe with Excelsius. And so what you'll notice down here is, I just want to include some of the stuff so you can see, we included a color theme scheme here, ultimately giving the individual an option to completely design Excelsius all based on what the feel and look that they're looking to have. Of course, you can completely go into the guts here and change it out if you want to do that. But we do give you two pre-selected layouts here, Excelsius theme, which of course is the blue and pink. And we also do give you the OG colors, the original colors, right? Those traditional green and red colors. These colors here, right, of course, really stand out as well. And I'll be honest with you, I do tend to maneuver between both of these. It's funny enough, I've loved the Excelsius colors now for the longest time, and just recently just putting me back onto this. This really is just, I don't know why, super comforting at nighttime. At the same time, we also do give two different color themes for the moment. They are gradient based, dark theme and light theme. For those that are wondering, we do have a video that completely teaches you how to set up your Excelsius in the same way that ours is. We want to make sure that we're all moving in one unit together. And so you will have a complete overview on how to set up your charts pertaining to the way that you see them here. And so that is one part of Excelsius's complete tool line in context to what it can do for the trader. Now we're going to really take a look from the alert standpoint and the automation standpoint, which really takes things to a whole nother level that ultimately really does help your trading to whole new heights. And so that comes off with the alerts. Let's start off with just the basis of the alerts, and then we'll take a look at the Discord channel. So as I said before, Excelsius can completely be the second pair of eyes and ears that you need it to be. It's just, what do you need it to do? And so what's super cool in the way that we designed it is that you can really make Excelsius alert you on anything and everything that you need the market to alert you on. And so all you simply do, once you found your pair, once you found the market that you're looking to trade, you simply right click, you go to add alert, and you'll simply change the condition from what the pair is to Excelsius. Once that is done, take a look at this full line now of alerts that you can set for Excelsius. Aside from just giving you indications of, hey, I want buy alerts, I want sell alerts, Excelsius can tell you exactly when new market structure is being developed. I will repeat one more time. Excelsius will tell you exactly when new market structure is being developed. And if you don't have time to maintain the alerts, to be on top of the alerts, you can set this function that we have here, which is also known as the Autopilot function. And this will now tell you when opportunities are available. Now, the important thing to be mindful of, however, and once again, we do give a complete resource guide and best practices to this, that when you are setting the alerts, they all come down based on the time frame in which you're setting them, right? So you set them on the 15-minute time frame. That means you're looking for specific things in context to that given time frame. However, the super cool thing is that you can continue to build Excelsius alerts in a sequence format if that ultimately is what your goal is, right? Maybe you'd like a 15-minute higher high, also with a 4-hour strong buy and a daily high as well, right? You can build that level of sequence, right? If you only wanted to do one thing, you can do that as well. You can completely mix and match accordingly. But when it comes down to the alert side of things, you can really set it up to do and be whatever you need it to do and be. And so that is really the most important thing that we can't stress enough, which is Excelsius is here to just provide you with all the resources that you need for when you need it. And so you can completely mix and match ultimately, the alert system all based on, what is going on for that given day. I can't express enough. This in itself, especially for what's going on in my life right now, has been the biggest help in the world. I can't express enough, has been truly the biggest help in the world. Knowing that I don't have to panic because I'm missing trades, because I'm not at the chart, is one of the greatest comforts, especially for someone like me who's been in the market as long as I've been in, working manually for as long as I've been trading. I can't express that enough. It's mind-blowing. Personally, and I'll be honest with you, I do tend to set the autopilot alerts because I got so much going on nowadays. But when I really do have time to sit down and compete, I'm setting sequence alerts and I'm on top of it. And it's unreal. It's unreal. Not only can you just set alerts, you can set potential alerts that are going to form, right? You see right now here, we just created a lower low by breaking this low. As those that know, new mark structure potentially form a new lower high. You could be telling yourself, so on BTC here, I want a lower high to develop. Watch, boom. I'm going to set this sequence alert. So once a lower high gets created, it's going to tell me. And then I'm going to set another sequence alert to say, okay, now I want a lower low to be created, which means a high, and maybe I'll drop down to like the 5-minute here. And I'll say, okay, excuse me. Now I want a lower low to be created. So all I'm going to do here is simply just say, okay, to get a lower low, I got to break this higher low. So I'm going to go down, simply just set this as a lower low on the 5-minute. And so now it's basically going to say, all right, it's going to tell me when a lower high forms on the 15-minute. And then once this higher low breaks on the 5-minute, boom, I got a potential sell opportunity, right? Completely go in there. From there, I can just go ahead with my favorites tool, not available, right? Let's say that we break down here. This would be new point of structure, quit stops above the most recent high, previous market structure. I can go ahead, target down these lower bands if I want, whatever the case may be, and really look to see if I can get a new low and then really start to target new points. Once again, the ability to mix and match is next level, is genuinely next level. And if you're someone that really wants to take things to a whole nother level and have those eyes, this is where the Discord server comes in. So we designed a Discord server to be as user-friendly, as plug and play as Excelsius is. You got 6 main channels right now, and we do plan on adding more, in which you'll have here, or 5 main channels, apologies, in which you have the main markets for the moment, FX, cryptos, commodities, precious metals, and indexes. And it says verbatim as you see it, right? We're saying on the website that Excelsius has an extremely high hit rate, and there is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You don't see many stop losses being called in this, right? So, you can test it for yourself. And that is really what we encourage every single one of you to do, is to take a look at Excelsius and look exactly at how it's competing. Once again, though, we did not design Excelsius to solely be a money printer, to be a signal provider. We designed Excelsius to really give you that edge in every aspect of your trading. And that's really the most important thing. And so we can't stress enough, while the signals, they look as kick-ass as they are, you still want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. You still want to make sure that you're doing the work that you need to get done, because our job is to make sure that you have the tools available to you. That is the most important element, is that you have the tools available to you. You have to be in the driver's seat and you make the decisions. Just like you want to make the market work for you, you need to make Excelsius work for you. You don't work for Excelsius and you don't work for the market. It's very important. You make Excelsius work for you. Super verbatim with regards to the Discord channel here. You've got FX, you've got cryptos, you've got commodities, you've got precious metals, you've got indexes. For the moment, the way we set it up is that anytime a signal is fired away in Excelsius on TradingView, you get that automatic alert sent into the Discord channel. You're going to continue to see improvements in this Discord channel as time goes on, just like you're going to see improvements on Excelsius. On top of that, we do have a little member rewards program here, and that is something that's going to continue to be built with time. Super cool projects are going to be coming through there. And so in and of itself, we're really excited as well for the future iterations of Discord, because that's also going to be a huge, huge vessel for Excelsius. And so, on top of that, you do have the resource guide down here, that is available for every single person that does join. And we do have some exciting announcements that are going to be coming out in the next couple of days pertaining to Excelsius. I can't express enough, and I keep saying this, Excelsius is ever growing. So on top of the next level trading system that you see here, it's only going to get better. And that in and of itself is the most exciting thing. It's one of the fundamental drivers that gets me up every single morning. And I know more importantly, just moves all of us. And that's what's really exciting. And so I'm going to open the floor, Legends. If you have any questions pertaining to Excelsius, I hope that I was able to give you, Legends, a little brief overview pertaining to what you can do with Excelsius, different ways that you can mix and match. We're going to be running these live demos every single Monday at 6 p.m. precisely for this, to answer questions, to really review Excelsius, to really take a look at what's going on in different ways that you can make it benefit yourself. And so, if you have any questions, of course, let me know. Chris, with regards to seeing it in action, give me more specifics. Give me an example. What are you thinking? You want me to unmute your mic? For sure. So, let's say, for example, you want to go ahead and you want to back test, right? Like a certain, variable pertaining to Excelsius, right? Let's start with just the rejection zones, right? You can precisely go ahead and do that. Pick the time frame in which, you ultimately want to be utilizing Excelsius, right? Let's do it on the 4 hour for now. And let's say we're just going down into here. And let's say now, okay, the ultimate purpose of rejection zones, right, is to ultimately give you indications of where potential tops and bottoms could sit, at the same time where you can expect some type of reversals or shifts in that way. And so automatically straight away, we have an example here, which you're just trying to test and say, okay, how can I really start to take potential opportunities with these rejection zones? And so straight off the bat, you could do a couple of different ways. You could say, hey, I'm just going to take it the moment that we've ever, actually touched this rejection zone. And so you could say, all right, I'm just going to place an order the moment that we've touched. I'm going to put my stops directly below the lowest band, and I'm going to start targeting the upper band there, right? That could just be one simple way that you could go about testing Excelsius in context of the rejection zones. Another way that you could do it is say, okay, I'm going to see on top of a situation like that, how can I take the rejection zones, maybe incorporate now something of my own analysis without even incorporating another tool, and saying, hey, the moment that we break this top here, I might be interested in taking a trade, right? On top of saying, yes, Excelsius rejected out, looking now to break a certain point of market structure, and let's see if we can target that upper point, right? At the same time, you could also add different points in there. Let's say the market structure, just a really good tool, once again, just to give you indications of where you can expect those areas of sensitivity. And precisely this, you could say, okay, as price is continuing to move, the potential points are being developed, and we're saying to ourselves, okay, if we want to go ahead and take a buy, we're really looking for these points to break. And if we want to be taking a sell, it may or may not be worth it, solely for the fact that look what Excelsius is trying to tell you here. You do have a point of structure in here, but look at also what you're going to be pushing into. Not only this previous low, but definitely a point that you can expect some type of deceleration and exhaustion within. And so it's not to say that it's incorrect trade, but it may just be a very short-term choppy trade. Once again, really taking the market for what it's trying to tell you. And so we're simply just running and we're seeing what's going on. Notice how Excelsius here is giving us an indication that a higher low may form if we can successfully break this. right? And same thing, essentially telling us a lower high is going to form if we can successfully break this higher low. And so if we continue to go, right, the moment that we can now see price breaks, what's also going to be super unique is if we throw on the market structure candles here, we can definitely see that price now will start to definitely be changing its direction in context to it, right? And now you notice you're seeing something that's turned from bearish to bullish, and you could be telling yourself, okay, you know what? That could be a buy signal for me. I'm going to take that, put my stops below market structure. I'm going to target now maybe one of these upper points in the band, which also coincides with these points in structure. And let's see how this plays out for us, right? And so you can once again just see that, you know, it's happening to work out exactly in context to we anticipate, but using certain game plans accordingly. All I simply did in here, without even turning on the signals or anything like that, was saying, hey, I can either take it off of just rejection, the basis of the rejection of the lower band, or I could try to incorporate market structure with the basis that we did go ahead and we rejected off of this rejection zone. And so this is just one example in context of how you go about utilizing the market structure, right? And with the rejection at the same time. Now we can see, right, we're pushing into this rejection zone here. Notice how price is automatically starting to decelerate and exhaust. It's the whole basis of it. But be mindful, it doesn't mean that price is just going to reverse. It's not how things work in the market. I'll be the first one to tell you that. But you can definitely see here that conditions going from something straight up is now definitely starting to chop out, definitely starting to slow down. Once again, the basis of the rejection zones to give you those indications of deceleration and exhaustion in context to this. And now you're telling yourself, okay, I could either drop down to the smaller time frame and try to look for some type of correction, or I could just wait for this 4 hour here and start to break down. Or if it gives me new points in structure, let me go ahead and really see if I can get that. And so for the moment, let's see what this continues to do. We're going to see if we can get a sell setup in here. Let's say if we break this point in market structure, we're going to start taking that sell setup. And also, I'd definitely be interested just because of where we're at in context to, you know, the upper band on that side. If you want to continue to keep taking the buys, no one said that you can't, but just notice once again, price will slow down. This is the biggest thing, right? The moment that we start to, let's say, shift momentum here, you don't fight the direction in the end of the day. You can just keep taking the longs all you want. Just trying to give you examples of a potential sell. And to the point, once again, there have been no potential sell opportunities, even though prices really now started to chop and decelerate because we've yet to break down any types of points of market structure. This in and of itself is also the biggest and key, most important thing. It's a balancing act, and I can't stress that enough. It is a genuine balancing act that you need to acclimate to your trading. And so as we're continuing to watch here, we're continuing to wait for opportunities. You keep trying to take, you might have said, you know what, screw it. I missed this one. I missed this one every single time. Now I'm going to keep taking these buys, and you can continue to keep taking these buys, but just be mindful of where you're sitting at within this and notice how choppy this is all becoming. Hence the rejection zones. You should be a lot more, just careful in context to how you're moving, right? And so we're still watching price. We're still waiting for any type of correction. And we did just successfully break, let's say, this current low, which also, if you drop down to the smaller time frames, will happen to be also a different point in structure. Aside from just being that current low, there would definitely be some higher lows here that prices are definitely already starting to break down. Going back into the 4 hour in here, right? We can definitely see here, though, that price is just starting to shift out of that short-term direction. Let's say you'd want to go ahead and take the sell setup. You definitely could. You could definitely go ahead and put stops off the most recent point or the highest of highs. It's completely up to you. And then from there, we're going to try to target some of these lower bands in this way and kind of see what happens in here. And so once again, though, be mindful, and I'll be the first one to tell you this, just because now you're in this trade doesn't mean that you still shouldn't be trying to do the work. Boom. The moment now we just broke the lows, I'd be adjusting my stops to the newest point in structure. Let's keep running it and let's see what's happening, right? Boom. Let's say, I thought we were going to actually break for a second. If we get stopped out, no worries. Potentially now look for the long, or we can continue, giving us indications that, hey, we might be developing a lower high. And let's see what happens. If we successfully break, you can start looking for the longs, or you might be saying to yourself, hey, you know what? This might not be something that I'm interested in just because, we are pushing to that upper area. Or you might be saying, hey, this is something that I'm interested in because you know what? I saw all these buys that took place. Even though we were really choppy in here, there were still some really good short-term opportunities in here. And so to stress once again, it's completely a mix and match situation, all based on what you're trying to achieve. The most important thing here, and I can't stress this enough, is that whether I'm taking this type of trade or I'm taking this type of trade or any other types of trades, I'm actively making sure that I'm managing my positions, that I'm protecting the capital, right? Just because Excelsius is there to really lead you to the water, it's not going to force you to drink it. And this is the basis of why we designed Excelsius in the way that we did. It's a balancing act. And I can't stress that enough. It is a genuine balancing act. Just like you're going to make the market work for you, you need to make Excelsius work for you. And that is the fundamental reason on why we designed it. And so when it comes to back testing, you can completely mix and match the type of scenarios, all based on what you want to do with it. And this is just me showing you, for example, how you could do things simply off of just the rejection zones, or you could just, for example, actually incorporate market structure if you want to incorporate the signals with that. If you don't want to include the rejection zones, right? And more importantly, the types of timeframes that you want to be putting them in. This is the basis of the whole thing. And so super mindful in context to that when you do go about back testing it, but we do stress tremendously the moment you do get plugged in with it to go ahead and start back testing with it. Any other questions pertaining to Excelsius that you legends might have off the top of your head? If not, that's no worries at all either. Like I said, these live demos that we're going to be running are going to be running on a weekly basis every Monday at 6 p.m. I'm just really here just to, really provide that additional outlook, on top of the information that we're providing on the website already. I can't stress enough in words how amazing this tool is. And I say it's a tool once again, because it's not meant to be the sole driver of your trading. It's meant to take your trading to heights that you never thought, it could have possibly gone to, because it gives you that confidence to move in areas that you wouldn't have had before because of all the additional data it's providing you. Now, with regards to the stats that you're talking about for the site, that is solely based on the signals. It's not confirming in context to the market structure or the rejection zones, even though if you do go ahead and back test the rejection zones and the market structure, they are just as up there as the signals. But the data that you do see in context of the website that we're doing, that's all based on the signals itself and the performance of the signals. Any other questions? No worries. I can't stress enough. You need to get plugged in with Excelsius, because otherwise you're just at a disadvantage automatically. Without even me, going through the zillion of examples, just showcasing a few, you should already be able to see how massively beneficial this is going to be for your trading. If nothing else, it will simplify the already complex process. It will be that second pair of eyes and ears. It will bend to exactly what you need it to bend to. And that's the coolest thing about it all. We designed it precisely in that way so that it can be for anyone and everyone. If you guys don't have any other questions, no stress at all. It's going to conclude today's live demo pertaining to Excelsius. These are always recorded. They're going to be uploaded on YouTube. And just know that these take place every single Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Definitely continue to join these live demos, because as I told you legends before, Excelsius is ever growing. And so what you see us reviewing this week might be completely different next week because of the new tools and additions that might have been added on. What might be reviewed in a month will be completely different to what we're reviewing now because of, once again, the additions that we're building, the changes in market environment, the overall growth that takes place. And that's what we're extremely excited about as well, to see how Excelsius continues to behave in new environments. And I'll be the first one to tell you that new environments will definitely come, especially when you look at the environment from an economic standpoint. You're going to see things that have never happened before are going to happen. When you print 40% of the circulating supply in 1 year, and you don't think a tsunami is coming post that, you need to rethink that. And that in and of itself is the most exciting thing for a trader. Volatility is the greatest tool a trader can have. That means opportunity. And there's no system providing more opportunities at such an efficient pace than Excelsius. And if nothing else, forget my words, forget what I'm showing you, let the results speak for themselves. And I speak with emphasis because you see the results. I can't express that enough. This year is going to be monumental for us because of these new additions that we're bringing to the table. It's upgrade season, legends. Let me tell you, it's upgrade seasons. And so with that, it's going to conclude today's live demo on Excelsius. Thank you so much to each and every single one of you showing up. If you need anything else, you can always reach out on the website. Continue to keep striving, continue to keep grinding, continuing to keep being the legends that you are. I'll see you all next Monday, 6 p.m. Legends, enjoy your week. Go compete. Go hold down the fort. Let's make 22 a year to never forget. I'll speak to you all soon.